Hello and welcome to PBE Set 6, last game of the tournament, final day. Winner takes it all.
Yes, maybe the late game compositions are somewhat expected or not that surprising, but the path to get there feels very open for Dasic.
Yeah, for sure. Realizing the power of some of those items using the Death Blade and the Hurricane in conjunction, combined with the Yordles to farm extra economy, uses the power of those early items to get there. And I think that was a really good week. Again, we talk about the fundamentals. Dasic realizing that as long as I have good items in a good combination, I don't have to overly fixate on the trait structure in the tree and can use that to do well. And so here we are, got our first augment. It is a tier 2 trade sector, a very popular one. Built different, a very creative one. This one can have a lot of power as it grants a ton of health and attack speed if they have no traits active. This can do some really wonky things, but I'll be honest, I think it's way too risky in Day 6 position when you're going for a top 4, because it's the kind of thing that if you play wrong, will guarantee you an 8th place. And so I really expect Day 6 to take trade sector, as he does. And again, if we're looking for a top 4 here, that's just going to give you some extra rerolls, get some stronger comps early, preserve some health, hits the twitches here. So I think Dasik looking to be in a really good position.
Sells the Twitch, just not convinced that he wants to re-roll for Twitch in any capacity. I'm sure people probably asking if Dasic was streaming in chat right now. If he was playing a solo queue game, he'd probably say chat would say like, "Why didn't you take build different? We should just do it." I'm unsubbing, unfollowing. Can't believe you wouldn't do exactly what I requested. The second thing they'd be like, "Why didn't you just make the Twitch too?" And it seems like he's just valuing other aspects like the innovators right now to try to secure his tempo. Now we have hopping on board Shitu, who has taken an Imperial emblem to start things off. Kind of spicy here.
Yeah, I think Chitu is definitely in a position where he can kind of enjoy, relax, have fun a little bit. And the Imperial emblem, he's got the jeweled gauntlet. Maybe we're looking for like a 5 Imperial Scion again. Could have some fun with that. But yeah, for Dasik in particular, we have seen Ezreal, the Innovators, the Clockwork be really good in the early game. And again, we're talking about if you're going for a top 4, playing that strong early game, preserving the health, does make a bit more sense than the Twitch. So I do like that play from Dasik.
Sounds good to me. Chitu does end up taking the loss here. You know, we do know that Chitu is low on the tempo, does have only 1-star units with the Poppy, doesn't have the Imperial buff, but focusing on the economy. Oh, finds a Vex. Very nice pickup and has one of the Imperials that he needs that so far with the Swain. With the rest of the lobby, you know, with Imperial being declared early, it also kind of scares people off of potentially going into Imperials because it's like, oh, well, Scion is a really cool carry, but it's very difficult to find Scion, and if it's already being contested, that's going to even make it harder. So I think this is Chichu just basically openly declaring that he's going to play this build, and it's only appropriate as well because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it first surfaced on the Chinese servers and slowly but surely made its way over to the West.
Yeah, for sure. There's an interesting meta game going on right now with the augments, where it's like you said, by picking this Imperial one, he's sort of staking his claim in it and saying, "I'm playing Imperial," and that does drive a lot of people off. There's even been some talks of people sort of waiting on their augment choice and scouting around to see who locks where they want to go. That way, you don't necessarily also pick an Imperial augment and get stuck in a kind of contested lane. And so on the development side, that's actually something we're going to have to kind of take a look at, but for now, it's a very interesting way to sort of make sure what's going on here.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wait, what? Speaking of Scion, early Scion in the shop, level 2, or level 5 at 2-3. Find Scion in the shop. Is this bait, Mort?
Oh, it's definitely bait from this point. I think Scion requires pretty specific items to do pretty well, and definitely wants that Imperial. Does have the Swain in the shop, so I do think it actually is better than Force Sniper. Force Sniper without a really good front line is a little risky. So hopefully he can get some damage here. But yeah, I think he's also got a very powerful augment here. If I remember correctly, this is a. I actually can't tell
Clear
from the
bench,
icon.
clear mine.
Oh yeah, okay, for sure. Clear bench. As long as he keeps his bench clear, he gets extra XP and levels up quicker. That's why he's level 5 already. I do think that is a very good augment. It is one, though, that can kind of bait you in the late game because you won't 2-star your units. It's sort of hard to hold your pairs. And so we'll have to see how GV8 plays it, but it will give him a pretty good early advantage.
I think a lot of it can be also akin to the amount of gold that you have. So if you equate experience points to gold, it's not a 1-to-1. There's like a sliding scale of how valuable it is early relative to later as well. So I think GV8's probably going to view this more as an opportunity to rack up his economy, which is why I think he's not super concerned with being at 0 gold because he's already at level 5. He's going to go ahead and start taking things like the belt. Oh no, he took a little too long, and Soju snatched that belt away from Grand Vice.
Yeah, I got that snagged out from under him. Again, Scion 1 doesn't really have a ton of health here, and now is kind of stuck with a frozen heart if he wanted to slam that, which I don't think is particularly valuable here. And so now his only damage is sort of this Tristana with 0 items, a Sunfire, and he's down a unit. Not really liking the position he's in right now, but hopefully he can preserve some health here and reach sort of that mid-game state.
Okay. Luck. Looks like him and G2 both scouting Dasik to see and glean any information here. Really cool interaction again with just how the socialite being in the front gives Sion a little bit of extra damage, but does end up getting the Zephyr off the scrap from Toruk. Definitely an annoyance because now all of a sudden his backline has way more access than he wants to. They're not surrounding the Scion. The decimating smash isn't as efficient as it could be. But hey, still a lot of stats, and this is what Colossus is good. It's just a lot of stats built in because they take up 2 slots and able to get the win anyways, so it's all good for GV8.
Yeah, the Colossus, as you said, has a ton of effective health. Scion, in particular, even at 1 star, has 1500 health. And so any items you put on those Colossus, even like tank items, is just giving you that much more valuable to your total team health pool. And so that ends up being in a pretty good spot there. So, yeah, we'll have to see if that Scion plays out in the late game. But for now, that's going to be at a good spot to hopefully buy some time for those snipers to do their damage.
Yeah, but you also saw, on the other hand, the frustration of, like, say, for an example, not being able to hold units, right? Because he hit pairs of stuff that he probably would want if he wanted to lean into the Scion. He already has to pass a pair of Swains. So there's definitely some trade-offs with Clear Mind. Yes, he's getting 4 EXP per round, but at one point, does he say, hey, I'm going to stop trying to collect EXP and greed this and go for the collection of champions because I want to make a strong board. A strong board. Dasik is completely done with stage 2 on a full 100 HP streak. Soju played immaculately in day number 1, barring a couple of exile positioning, and it does seem like he is not in that position where he's comfortable full streaking, although got some pretty good building block pieces. Has a Bruiser emblem, has 4 Bruisers, so he's very resilient. Does have the potential of going into the mutant trait, and do we know what mutant is for this game?
I don't think we've seen what mutant trait it is, but I will say the Bruiser emblem in particular is a very powerful item if you're willing to go deep Bruiser. It allows you, for example, like Kaisa with this Hand of Justice can go full health, and then by the time she takes enough damage, that'll give her enough mana to generate another cast, get that big cast off, which does tons of damage, get a lot of health back from the healing from the Hand of Justice, and allow a sort of 6 Bruiser or even 8 Bruiser Kaisa to go infinite. And so we'll have to see what mutant variation it is, but that could be an option here to do really well. I have to call out also Dasik really knows exactly what his win condition here is, playing that strong board with the Camille 2-star, the Zillion 2-star, giving him the Clockwork, as the Ezreal 2-star, playing just what is, I think, widely known right now as sort of that strong early game board with the Innovators, and so puts him in a very good position here. Interesting that he got out of the Kog'Maw, though.
Yeah, the Kog'Maw was, I don't think he's going to lean to the mutant. I was thinking about whether or not he had any idea of he wanted to pick up this Scion as well, because he had the Colossus, but he doesn't have the board space for the 4 Bruisers, so I think this makes the most sense. And in terms of just, like, who can utilize things like the Hand of Justice pretty well, Warwick's okay. The only problem is he doesn't have Challenger, so I think that Soju's in a spot where his frontline is good. He just really lacks damage, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is another example where we're kind of people are learning the set and learning what works. Because again, he put a Warmogs on Cho'Gath, and we talk about those Colossuses having very high base health. Giving them just another 1,000 health is much less powerful than, say, putting that Warmogs on a Bodyguard. You want to kind of synergize your health and your armor and MR. And so Cho'Gath in particular really wants things like, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Bramble, Dragon Claw to really make that high health pool very effective. Warmogs now, if he invests in that Cho'Gath in any way, ends up being a fairly low value item. And so hopefully maybe Soju's got a plan to get out of that later, but that's definitely one of those I think rookie mistakes we're seeing from some of the new players as they learn the new set and what really works and what doesn't.
Yeah, we'll see how he scales it all the way to the late game. Personally, I'm a big fan of, you mentioned Kaisa holding the
Whoa.
Bruiser emblem. Oh, wait, hold on. That's a Scion 2 from
Whoa, that's a
GBH?
Scion 2 at 3-2.
Wait, how? That's crazy.
That's really cool. Now it is stuck with an armor on it, but that's still a Scion 2 at 3-2. And we talk about that 1500 base health, that's multiplied by 80%. So now he's sitting at close to 2800 health. Soju does get a chance for another Bruiser emblem here, though, so that is a way to get into that 6 Bruiser pretty quickly.
Yeah, also could think about Chemtech, because Chemtech Bruiser does feel like it's very natural with both Dr. Mundo and Zac being Chemtech Bruisers. So he does end up splitting it up a little bit more. And I like this because then it gives his board actual punch to it, right? The Chemtex and the Warwick becomes a lot stronger this way. And all of a sudden, Soju's board went from pretty mediocre to not that bad. Doesn't have 2 stars, so he does lack a little bit actual substance to it. But on paper, team looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of Soju fixating on that Urgot that he's liked to play all tournament. I think he sees his Orianna, he knows where he's going, he's got the Chemtech. We could see a Bruiser Urgot here, which can work, but I do wonder if the 6 Bruiser, because again, the Bruisers give themselves double the value here, and so being able to get that number really high could be really good. That being said, at least in this meta, with all the Giant Slayers being built, that can be a little scary. But we'll have to see if that pays off and if he can hit that Urgot. Because keep in mind, if he hits the Urgot he's going for, problem solved, it was the right call. If not, though, and we see things like Kaisa or something like that early, I think he might look back in that and kind of go, was I supposed to lock that in?
Well, we'll see, because I do think there's a couple of the really powerful users of things like that. Like, I personally like giving that some of the Bruiser stuff to Jace. I think it's like really powerful way to capitalize off his HP. And hey, he has a Chemtech emblem. Maybe we have a Chemtech Bruiser Transformer Innovator Jace. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's everything.
I think that's a great call out. Jace is a really good one, especially the melee Jace, who gets a shield based on his health. The other one that's actually surprisingly good is Yuumi, because Cuddly is based off the health of the champion. And so Yuumi really likes Warmogs and Bruiser Emblem, giving her that high base health to make the shield as she jumps around from person to person even better.
Fascinating. I love it. I feel like we're theory crafting like as we're watching Soju play, which is just some of the most fun that you can have in TFT. Obviously playing is great, but love the ability to discuss even what you're seeing on screen. That makes it so fun. 3 rerolls here for Tex, as he does have the trade sector, and he has what looks like to be wise spending. What a nasty combination to be able to roll a lot and also gain EXP for doing that.
Yeah, for sure. This is a great combination. I will say, though, he leveled up there as opposed to using the refresh button to reroll up, which is a little weird with wise spending. You can basically just turn off your buy XP button and use that to just roll down. So it kind of misses an opportunity there. Big misplay with that augment that he could have used to roll down and maybe hit that Fiora too, because he is sitting on 2 Fioras.
It's true, because for every time he presses the level button, he misses EXP, right? So in that case, or free reroll. So he doesn't miss EXP. So in that case, Tex feels like he's being inefficient with his Tex Tech augments. And I'm sure a lot of people would review this specific turn and just be like, oh, what? Oh, wow, a Fiora 2.
Yep.
Well,
and what I like about this Fiora too is that he's got the Hurricane, which isn't bad on Fiora. Is kind of missing that, Infinity Edge, Jeweled Gauntlet, Hodge that we've seen do pretty well, but I do kind of expect to see at least the Hurricane slammed. Don't know about the Ginsus. Does put the Ginsus on the Fiora. That is surprising to me. I'm not sure that's where you want to be with that item.
Yeah, maybe just looking at raw DPS right now in terms of the Fiora, because it is the 2-star, so he wants to just make whatever his 2-star carry is the more powerful carry at this point. And he does get a big shockwave onto Sologa Song, but the Galio comes in and stuns, and now the big crits from the Blade Waltz. It's going to be a Fiora vs. Fiora, but not able to activate the second cast. So Solo does end up dropping, and it was actually quite tumultuous, that fight. One big crit session here from the Blade Walls from Solo, and all of a sudden we see the fight can turn around. But this is what we're talking about here from Texas' point of view. Just wanted more raw power onto his board, and as a result, Solo's kind of have his back to the wall here. He's at 27 HP. Him and Chitu both look like they're in dire straits.
Yeah, it looks
Wow.
like Solo Gasong, at least he gets his Fiora 2 here, so that's a massive hit. If he can get a glove here and get that Hand of Justice, that is what people are often considering the best Fiora. He's got 3 Socialite, so it's already got 30% Omnivamp as well. Could even opt to go full offense because he's got that 3 Socialite. Is kind of lacking frontline, and I was going to say he is kind of stuck with this augment, the Rich Get Richer, which increases your interest to 7, but since he's playing from behind, I doubt he really has the time to stay at that sort of 70 gold threshold and make use of it. So basically, that augment says plus 10 gold, which is still 10 gold, but isn't really going to help him in the late game. So it'll be curious to see how he itemizes this Fiora. Didn't get the Hand of Justice. Does go Giant Slayer. I like that play. Giant Slayer being the other big multiplicative item. He's got the 3 Socialite. But I do also think this means he is locked into 3 Socialite because he is going to need the Omnivamp provided by the Socialite to keep this Fiora and let her go infinite.
All right, well, we'll see how he fares against Torug's board, who is leaning it once more towards having this Kog'Maw hold the items, but it's just going to get completely crushed. Torug rolled down a lot at 4-1, and Solo Gasong hit the Fiora 2 and is choosing not to roll. I think that's an excellent call on his end here. Do you want to point out that Solo Gasong has still 50 gold, so if he can find a way to get that interest all the way up to 70, he still can find a way to rack up his gold, because I feel like stage 4 might be a big turning point if he's able to continue to streak here. The only other streaker is Grand Vice, who's at 94 HP. Let's hop on board with him. We know he hit the early Scion too. And he's still capitalizing on this clear bench. Since he hit Scion 2, doesn't have to hold any units.
I do like what he's doing here. He is at 94 health. He has 63 gold. He is going to work his way to level 9, and we're going to see this transition into legendaries. He's got enough health. He's using Clear Mind, and eventually when he hits level 9, Clear Mind won't be a factor anymore. So he can just level up, hit those pairs of legendaries, and we could see one of those big, full legendary comps that could do really well. I do have to call out from a standings perspective as well. Every time somebody drops out, that is another chance for Dasik to win this tournament. Dasik is at 87 health, doing good. Best Sato lost his first round at 4-1, was at 100 health before that. But Chitu, Solo Gasong are really keeping GV8 and Soju's hopes alive to maybe turn this tournament around.
Wow. Did you know that GV had a chance to level that to 9 at 4-2? He would have to sell something on his board because he was 1 gold off. That might be the earliest I've ever seen a fast 9 in set 6 for Gizmos and Gadgets. And GV8, you can just see, look at how deep into take it is. It is wrinkling his brain. He's not sure what to do. He's like, wait, this Tahm Kench is actually kind of sick to play, but what do I play over it? My synergies are pretty airtight. Does that mean I have to pass this Tahm Kench? Do I lock for it? Because that's a unit that I can play on 9. Whatever. Just dump the extra gold into buy XP and figure it out later.
Yeah, this is why we talk about Clear Mind. It is a very powerful augment, but does require some discipline and a very specific way to play. You mentioned this is the kind of earliest you've seen Fast 9. I will call out with the level up augment, I have seen level 10 at 4-5. That's probably the craziest one. But yeah, other than that, this is definitely one of the fastest I've seen, certainly in a tournament environment where it's very high-paced and high competitive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to the carousel, still very good. At Scion 2 is anchoring him, but GV8 looks like he's in prime position to get that top finish. Meanwhile, on the other end, Chitu might not even make it to the end of Stage 4 to see the rest of his components. And Stage 4, if you are playing a lot of Reckoning lately, you might notice that there's a lack of item component drops at the end of Stage 4. That's because of the Radiant armories, especially the dual ones that are currently on the live patch. In Stage 4, at the end of it, for Gizmo the Gadget, you actually get a lot of components, so it would be quite a travesty for Chitu to just die out here and not be able to see things come to fruition, especially when you compare and contrast to Grand Vice, who just hit that Scion 2, despite not intending to play Scion this game.
Yeah, I think now that he's got the Orianna pair here, I think he levels. Now he doesn't have to worry about Clear Mind. He can start to put things on. I don't like this play, though. He's itemizing the Lux with the Shojin instead of the Orianna. We've seen GV8, this actually cost him earlier in the tournament when he had an itemized Lux that really just couldn't quite carry. But that being said, he is level 9, 94 HP, and he is second in the standing. So if he can win this and Dasik doesn't top 4, that is a chance for him to turn this around.
That's true. That's true. We're hopping on board with Sato and seeing whether or not he can eliminate Sologosong. Sologosong's very, very powerful, though. Yes, he's not streaking all throughout stage 4, but looks like Solo at least has a very powerful board now, and he has no gold left, so he's cashed in all of his reserves and seeing if that's enough. Shitu out in 8th place. Wait, Soju and Torque are now down on the chopping block as well as we hit a tier 3 augment opportunity.
Yeah, so this is a pretty high power game. We've got 2 tier 2s and a tier 3. He's going to take the chemical overload. This will allow them to explode for really big. So anytime something dies, this will be a lot of power. But I'm not sure. It's really risky here. So we'll have to see if that plays out. Because again, it is PBE, and one of the things we have seen is there have been some bugs sometimes with if these stack. So hopefully that doesn't come into play here, but we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I have also ran into the exact same thing where sometimes these chem overloads don't stack. Same thing with exiles, for example. Sometimes you have 2 exile buffs. Just be mindful of that as it is a work in progress. So from Sato's perspective, he's crossing his fingers and hoping that these explosions will go the way he wants to. He's got 5 chem tech. Some people even decide to itemize their Twitch and send Twitch into a backline chemical overload and destroy things. Maybe even giving Warmogs to Twitch. It's very interesting to see how this augment can interact.
Okay, so I have to call out GV8 on the other side. We knew he was level 9 already. He took Windfall. Windfall gives him another 30 gold. So he's level 9, 50 gold right now at 94 health. If GV8 doesn't win this game, that is his to lose. He is in such a good position.
Yeah. I guess at this point, like, you has creative freedom to build whatever board he wants full of, 4 cost and 5 cost champions. So by all means, I believe Grand Vice should be one of these leading candidates to win, a heavy favorite, if you will. We're not playing fantasy TFT, but if you were, I think GB is a safe horse to bet on. Everybody else, though, playing for second here. If you're Soju and Solo and Torek, you're basically trying to play for 4th at best. Very likely to get a 5th, because if you run into GV8 who's streaking and he manages to have a good board, if you don't catch him before he transitions, you might be sitting duck.
Now, I don't want to jinx it, but how cool would it be if we finally saw a 3-star 5 cost? Because GV8 being level 9, 50 gold at 5-1, maybe there's a shot for that. So that'd be a really cool way to end this tournament.
We've seen a bunch of 3-star 1 cost. Pretty much almost all of the carries, I feel like we've seen them all. We've seen plenty of 2s, 3s, and even some 4s. Haven't seen a 5, so I am very excited for that possibility. More, you got me all excited. Let's make it happen, GV8. If you're in chat, you should encourage him to do it right now. Just go ahead and tell him, hey, go for a 3-star legendary. It's next mission. I think part of the problem too is that GV8 also, if he wants to go for first, has to keep in mind that Dasik is in a pretty good position to get that first place finish to be top 4s, and based off the HP total, it's likely to happen. Now Soju gets a win. And it was a pretty convincing win here. So Sato doesn't look like he's in the best position. He's keeping tabs on the rest of the lobby of who might be eliminated. It looks like Sologosang might be out. Oh man, this
Not quite. I think the big thing to note here is that Best Sato, he needed to get the Victor 2. Victor 1 right now just doesn't quite have the oomph to kill things. And with all the extra healing from the Jannas and the Orianas in the lobby, if you can't burst people down, that can really backfire. Dasik, interestingly enough, his Prismatic Augment, he just took Item Grab Bag 2, which gives 2 full items and 2 free Reforgers. It's a very generic one, but honestly one of the lower powered ones. So he is up 2 items on everyone, though, falling back on the same comp that got him the win last time, with the Jin, get the Clockwork, the Janna, again, the very popular comp. So, but again, Dasik just needs to top 4, and he wins this tournament, and looking in a very prime position to do that.
Yep, and just kind of giving us the blueprint of what we should be thinking about with this Innovator Clockwork foundation and utilizing Jin as the backline carry of choice. Vesato's Chaos Ray is not able to finish it off, and Daisy gets another crucial victory. Torek out, Soju out, one more player, and you are looking at your PBE Clash champion. Very close, extremely likely at this point with Solo down to 2 HP. We'll see whether or not anybody can potentially move up in the standings, because the other storylines going into it would be who will be able to potentially snag fourth place in terms of the standings, and that would require them to have a top finish here.
Yeah, for sure. It's looking real good for Dasik here. And hopefully GV8 will go out in second, get a really good, fun finish here. Soju with that 7th, though, we'll have to see what that does to the standings here, if that knocked him down from his 3rd place spot. But yeah, so I think at this point, like I said, Dasik kind of doing a victory lap here with this Clockwork Innovator comp that he's been very comfortable with all tournament. And we'll see what we can do here. Tex, though, does use that Fiora Yone. We've seen quite a bit as well. But you can see why that Janna's so valuable, buying just a little extra time. Not enough time, though. The Fiora does the Blade Waltz, destroys everything, and oh, Kaisa does some big damage there, and too. And interesting enough, you look at the damage meter here, and it's like Mundo is topping the damage meter of Dasik's comp there, just showing you the power of Mundo, who's a good tank and good damage.
That's right. Taking a look at the carousel here. Some potentially swing stuff, some emblems, some good utility, some just straight up power. Dasik ends up taking what looks like to be a Banshees. How good do you think Banshees is currently? Like when you're watching its change from now just blocking the spell to blocking up to 600 damage. How has it felt for you since then?
So I think the item itself is still very powerful, and we'll see it quite a bit as the meta develops. I think right now in particular, though, a lot of the CC is just too frequent, and so it's usually not worth investing in. Whereas in the past set, blocking one key spell could do a lot here. And so I expect sort of as the balance gets shifted, we'll see Banshees come back into favor. But right now, Banshees isn't protecting you from these Fioras and these Jins that you're seeing. And so that's why it's kind of falling out of favor.
Right. It's a situational item, and we don't know what situations to use. In this situation, there's, like you said, so much CC coming down. Fiora can't play the game. Solo Gasong, is he making a little comeback here? Able to come back from 2 HP would be quite an impressive feat.
Yeah, for sure. And again, until we see that one more person knocked out, it is not locked in. Dasik is losing, so it is possible here. And again, we also haven't checked in on GV8's board here. He's been level 9 for a while with a ton of gold. Dasik just hits level 9, but there's still, a little bit of room. It's not quite locked in here.
Oh my god,
3.
Sato hit a Urgot 3! This game just got intense! We thought GV8 could be a lock for first place, but with Sato hitting a 3-star 4 cost, I mean, that just means that Solo has to dodge that Urgot. No, he's facing the ghost of Sato. Very unfortunate for Tex here. Can he find a way to minimize the amount of damage being dealt? Because if he takes huge damage, that'd be very devastating for Tex's chance to make top 4.
Now, I will say, while Urgot 3, definitely powerful, no one's going to question that, is not one of the S-tier 4-cost carries, as we see here.
What?
And for that exact reason, I was just going to call that out, because he can get CC'd. Unlike Sion that we were talking about last game, who just, can't be CC'd, there is so much CC in the meta right now that Urgot 3 is not infallible. And between the Jannas and everything else, we can see it can be beat.
You said Sion 3? Unlike Sion 3, we have 8 Sions. They don't even fit on the bench. Looks like a New York City subway right now. Everyone's just on top of each other, trying to fight for some elbow room. He has 8 Luxes as well. He's going for multiple 3-star 4 costs here, Mort.
Yeah, we're not going to see our 3-star 5 cost, but this is definitely a cool way to end it with some very high-powered lobbies. Again, we see the Tier 2, Tier 3 augment, and so far, it's still 5 players in. Solo Gasang win streaking. Dasik has dropped. If Dasik takes 5th, and if GV8 wins, we could see a twist. We could see a big change here.
All right, I'm down for Janna 3 too. At this point, I don't know. Grand Vice is rolling. He's seeing all the 4 costs. How are there Urgots appearing in the shop? This is nuts. 3-star Sion has arrived just in time for the fight. Who will be his first potential victim? It's a ghost of Solo Gasang. It's not actually Solo. So GVA can't be personally responsible for eliminating somebody, but he's going to keep tabs potentially on the rest of the lobby. First wants to see how his fight's going to show or pan out here. Very likely he takes the win. I don't think Solo can take it down with just his 2-star challengers. And what happens to the rest of the fights?
Yeah, we'll have to see, because again, this isn't nearly as well itemized as the last Sion 3 we saw, but I do like the Bloodthirster here. And there it is.
Oh,
Dasik at 2 health,
oh,
but Solo Gasong losing. So that is going to clinch it. Dasik will be the tournament winner, but just by a nose. We've got this Scion 3 here. Just was a big hit. If we can maybe see the Lux 3, that'll be pretty fun. But yeah, just so close. There it is, Lux 3!
Sure, why not? Add the Galio 2, make some room for this Lux 3. What an explosive final game. It pretty much had it all. And now you see Grand Vice just kind of taking a little bit of a victory lap. That's right. Able to send Dasik and banish him to the Shadow Realm personally. It's not enough to win the tournament, but hey, we take those.
We definitely take those. What a strong way to finish with 2 3-star forecasts. Wow. Oof. And it'll be interesting when it comes down to this versus the Urgot. But as I said, I think the Urgot can be CC'd. The Scion, that's an unstoppable Colossus. He also put in the Galio for the 2 Colossus. It's got the Yuumi there to protect him. I would definitely be banking on GV8 here.
Yeah, and so that 4-point differential that GV had for 10 points versus the 6 that Basic gets is not enough to overcome the 6-point gap. Dasik should win by at least 2 points for this tournament. Taking a look at Tex and Sato, I don't think anything comes any remotely close to be able to challenging this double 3-star 4-cost build. I mean, they have 2-star challengers from Tex. That's cool and all, but everything just dies to the stomp and the lasers. The combination is way too much damage, Mort.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on the fact that this is a 3-star Lux with Imperial. So that Imperial, if it's the Tyrant, is giving it an additional damage. And look at those damage meters. Just 12,000 from the Scion, 8,000 from the Lux. It's got to feel good. And yeah, again, GV8, I think just having a big smile on his face, having fun here. Let's see if he can get a 3rd item for the Scion, pump it up even more. Or maybe even a 3rd item for this Lux. Because that's the crazy thing. They both only have 2 items.
Right. Like, this is nowhere near their ceiling potential. It's 2 items with pretty suboptimal setups, right? You don't want Bloodthirster on Scion necessarily. He's got so much health, you just want to give him more damage. So, a situation where GV8, I'm sure, wishes they could be playing for first in this spot, but definitely at least making some lemonade while he's at it here.
Yeah, I will call out just a small detail for learning's sake. Bloodthirster, actually, the way Bloodthirster works is it gives you a shield based on your percent health. So in this situation, throwing it on the Scion will at least give that Scion a massive shield to keep it alive. So I do like that play of sort of like what you have. Now, as you said, certainly not optimal, and I'm not saying force Bloodthirster on your Scions. But again, for what he has, I like the play.
You think he really is going to activate the Bloodthirster shield? Oh, he did. Okay.
He did,
actually,
yeah.
3-star Urgot. 3-star Urgot made it a little bit close. Wait a second.
No. I think Lux has this right there.
Okay. A little bit of a pause, champ, if you will. Sato is going to take this loss.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's enough to actually kill him. Just barely able to survive. We're going to stage 7 potentially here, depending on how the matchmaking, or we see a double kill.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, by the way. He almost got 3rd place with Urgot 3, which is one of those little bit of feels bad. But again, when you're up against a Scion 3 and Lux 3, it's bound to happen, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I like that both Lux 3 and Scion are fighting for the Imperial buff as well. Only one can be the Tyrant. And the items on Oriana, I think he would rather switch it so they can get a little bit more burst onto the Lux here. But here we go. It's a ghost, so it's not going to be a double kill here for Grand Vice. We are going to go to stage 7.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, the Tyrant is chosen based off the damage done last round. So this time the Lux starts as the Tyrant, gets that 60% buff, gets those resets, and with 2 Shoujins, it's basically just 1 or 2 autos to get right back to casting. And there she goes, and you can see there's almost 13,000 damage. She gets to keep being the Tyrant. And we'll get one more time of Lux and Scion versus Urgot. But again, I think it's been clearly shown that, turns out 2 is greater than 1. I know Kiyun's not here to check the math, but we'll see that victory.
You can see that Sato's chasing at least Urgot 3, trying to make it also spicy. Grand Vice has 65 gold, by the way. So he could, ostensibly chase another 3-star or maybe just kind of finish off his build. I do have a question more. Does the PBE round here count for the Imperial as well? So, like, if you took out the Scion, you would guarantee that Lux would be the Imperial? Okay, interesting.
It does. It does.
Interesting interactions. Oh,
so yeah, you can see that right now Lux has that Scion, or the Imperial buff, the Tyrant buff. And so Lux is definitely going to be the strong one here. If Best Sato can somehow get back there and take out that Lux, maybe, but let's be real. I think GV8, again, doing his victory lap here, having fun, is going to opt to put in the Kaisa here just for even more damage. Rolling down 50 gold, hits the Galio 2. You know, he's going to win with level 9, 43 gold with another 20 gold on his bench. Just really showing the power of these augments. Urgot is in a decent position here.
Frontlined. Wait, that's actually kind of smart because now you can target the Lux. Lux is down. Oh, GV8 loses. Whoa, and we're on stage 7, so this is a big damage all of a sudden. Low-key losable?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and again, not that it changes the outcome of the tournament, but GV8 has 1, maybe 2 lives if it's a close loss. So it is going to come down to positioning here. The other thing is now the Tyrant is Scion, which means Scion has that buff, not the Lux. So if Urgot doesn't get CC'd, that, you know, could be another loss here. And so Best Sato might turn a comeback here. I do like chalicing the Scion here, knowing that... No, I saw the Urgot swap. I saw the Urgot swap there.
Oh, he did, and he's right in front. But however, the trade-off is he's right in front of the Scion. So maybe that's actually exactly what GVA wanted. Sato may have played himself.
Oh, and there it is. There it is.
And GVA is going to do it. Really nice maneuver by Sato, but in the end, just can't really overcome